What do you get when you cross a know-it-all newspaper columnist with an awkward, unsophisticated everyman?
Yeah. Well, I'm just not sure about that right now.
Welcome to Couch and the Rube.
Welcome to Couch and the Rube, our Wednesday show, presented by our friends at Front 43 Neighborhood Pub in Cask & Company Kitchen and Bar that is just north of Frandor on East Saginaw near the Lansing-East Lansing border. And Front 43 and Cask & Company has a new private room for private parties. If you've got a gathering, a Christmas party, be it an office occasion, maybe you just want the room for yourself to get out. You know, I don't want to be at a bar. I just want to be in a massive room that's just for me being waited on. You could do that too. Whatever you want to do. Front 43 and Cask & Company's private room. You can call 517-580-3720. Hit option 2. That'll get you to the people you need to talk to. They'll take care of you. Again, Front 43 and Cask & Company's private room now available for reservations. Jason, how you doing, brother? I mean, I felt all of Fred Human.
It's the American way, except America has gotten soft.
Go out there, play hard, stick your cleats so far up their asses that they've got to use the cleats to brush their teeth with.
What's up, buddy? How's it going? They should have used Lats last night, too. It should have been Lats, and then Lats introduced Fitzgerald, and the crowd would have exploded.
My goodness. If Lats, people would have been confused, but I would have exploded. It would have been amazing.
What do you mean people would have been confused? People know Lats, dude.
I would have stood up and applauded just like I'll applaud Alan Haller years from now. It would have been my...
Who would get more applause, Chad Lats or Alan Haller?
Right now it would be Chad Lats, probably.
Yeah,
Mm.
absolutely.
But, you know.
Shout out, Chad.
Give
but
it
yeah,
10,
man, what a day yesterday. How are you feeling? I didn't hear you on the microphone yesterday. I was listening to the press conference, or watching it, I should say.
Yeah, so when we talked about this on Monday, I am not a huge fan of that setting. It was actually better than I thought. I like they don't do it at Breslin anymore. They do it over the football facility, at least for the football ones. And it wasn't so bad. But there is a separate press availability where we all stood around Pat Fitzgerald for like 20, 25 minutes after that. And that's
gangbang, they call it.
The gangbang.
Yeah.
And that's where we got better questions. And not better questions. I felt all of Fred Human.
Where you feel all of Fred Human.
Good answers. Yes, you do feel all of Fred Human. That's where those happen.
I like Freddie. He was up first. He's like, I wasn't expecting to go first here. It's just I love watching those things. I'm glad I don't have to go to them because I can understand what you're saying, but watching it on TV, it's absolutely fascinating with the three guys, Gus up there, Bat, Fitzgerald. It was awesome.
What were your impressions?
Obviously, you knew he was going to come and win the press conference. He was going to give his coach speak. He's a natural at that. I thought it was what it was. I mean, the pomp and circumstance of it is kind of ridiculous, and it gave a vibe of like Jonathan Smith, like a funeral. Like it was kind of like if you didn't know and just were plucked down in front of the TV and said, I need you to watch this and give me your first thought. Your first thought would be like, did this Jonathan Smith guy pass away, or what did we do here? Because it was everybody. I get you have to do that, but it's just like I hope that after today's show, can we just move on? Like we have to say Jonathan Smith's a good guy and all yada yada. It's like, he was wronged, and he had a great column, but it's just like you read it and it's like, all right, we get it. He was wrong. He's getting $30 million. Oh shucks, get the fuck out of here. Let's start over. You know what I mean? So it was just the repetitiveness of that yesterday. It was all right.
Yeah, and I think you don't have to do that, by the way. There are a lot of times where people act like the previous coach did not exist. That happens too in these things.
Sure.
So, one of the things I thought was deeper about sort of the regret for the Jonathan Smith era and understanding that 2 years probably isn't enough usually and that you don't want to get in that cycle and all that stuff. I thought it spoke to, they like Jonathan Smith personally. We've done the good guy stuff. You get that he's a class guy and he represented the university well, so people feel bad in that sense. But I also think the regret is there is an understanding that what was provided to him won't cut it. And that's part of where that's layered. And that's an important thing.
But doesn't it shock you that Michigan State, the university, thought that's what could cut it?
Well, some of it's timing. Some of it's, Kevin Guskowitz isn't even in place yet as the president when he's hired. And then beyond,
so you could say it's a bad timing thing for Smith, too.
Oh, yeah.
More
100%.
importantly, a bad timing whole thing around.
100%. And he wasn't a fit. And I think at the end he knew it. It was interesting. Tom Izzo, in his press conference after the Michigan State-Iowa basketball game, which we're going to talk about as well, and we're also going to have Shawn Windsor on in a little bit to talk about all this as well.
Don't coach my team.
But you could tell Izzo, like early on when Izzo was supportive of Jonathan Smith, I didn't want to say it was insincere. I don't believe that. But Tom Izzo is a little bit of the boy who cried wolf when it comes to supporting coaches, right? I mean, every losing coach in the history of Big Ten basketball has been lobbied for by Tom Izzo. Like you think, can't fire that guy. Got a raw deal. And so I took it with a grain of salt. But to see how it impacted Izzo still yesterday, I do think those feelings to some degree, not whether he thought that Jonathan Smith should still be around. He said directly, we did what we had to do, right? And so that part of things was true, but he's also said that Jonathan Smith and he had a conversation, and he thought it was cool what Jonathan Smith said to him. And my sense from that conversation, and I don't have this directly on record, but is that Jonathan Smith sort of understands that he didn't get it done and that the fit wasn't perfect. I mean, Jonathan Smith's not a moron. We know that. I mean, he's not a great communicator, and that's one of the big differences between him and Pat Fitgerald, but he's not an idiot. And
not many morons get paid $30 million to go away.
Correct. Or rise to that level in the profession, period, and run a program. But the fit, everybody understood, wasn't there. And the fit with Pat Fitzgerald appears to be there. Now, what that translates to on the field, we don't know. But if you start with fit and you start with support and resources, which he's been told he'll get, and we'll see what that looks like, and we'll see what his staff looks like. And, look, there's a lot still to prove. But when you start with fit and being able to rally a fan base and engage people the way he can, it's just a better place to start from. He speaks the language of, if there was such thing as Spartanese, he speaks it. And he didn't have to, fake it or anything like that. He spoke into the Michigan rivalry without even it being prompted or asked. He did
more in one halftime speech than Jonathan Smith did in 2 years.
Yeah.
Column. There you go. I mean, come on. And that's the other issue I have with the university, though. It's like in Haller, when we talked about it Monday, of what did they talk about in the initial meeting with Smith and Haller? Because I'm sorry, you just need. There's no way that has to have that the halftime speech that Fitzgerald gave. That is exactly what you have to do to win a fan base over. And I understand if you don't have a personality, shucks, then guess what? You don't get this amount of money from a university to coach your football team. I'm sorry, if you don't have it's what comes with being a football coach is having a personality, and the fact that we just, he's a good football mind, but he just doesn't. No, you have to have the complete package if you're going to get some of these contracts, and I don't know, especially the way football is now. You just can't be a dud. It's impossible to start, especially where Fitzgerald's starting from right now. There's no way they could have hired another guy with Jonathan Smith's personality to come in here.
No, and
zero.
And I have sort of changed my tune on fit a little bit. I always thought fit was nice, but I didn't know to what degree. And watching the contrast between Jonathan Smith and Pat Fitzgerald, and the contrast not just in their ability as orators and their passion and all that stuff outwardly. I'm talking fit in terms of Big Ten blueprint, a guy who can come in right away and is not like learning about the rivalry and talking about that, is more like, I'm in it. You know, here we go.
You don't have time to wait for him to just get into a groove with the rivalry.
And I'm sure he did some research, but he's also somebody, look, this guy's been around. He was coaching. He coached as a head coach at Northwestern. He's only 51. But he coached as a head coach at Northwestern against John L. Smith. That's how long he's been around, against the other Jonathan Smith. And he played for Northwestern in Spartan Stadium.
Don't say neck roll.
No,
don't say neck roll.
But against George Perlis and against Nick Saban. So, like, the guy is just, in other words, his familiarity with Michigan State, and obviously there's the 11 games against Mark D'Antonio and all that stuff, it runs deep. And D'Antonio issued a statement today. I thought it was, and the other thing I was impressed with was the way he hit the ground running with recruiting, and the way he embraced the recruits that were already recruited by the previous staff and trying to get them. You don't have another choice if you're him. Like, this won't be part of this. Won't be his class. Who he gets in the transfer portal and any late signees will be. And there are going to be a couple guys today that will flip or come over there that are his guys. But you are, and he said very complimentary things about the previous class. You are trusting in their evaluations a little bit, and because you need those guys. You can't have nobody. You can't be Penn State without a coach right now on signing day. It's a bad situation.
Can you believe where Penn State is? I mean, before the season, they were minus 290 to just make the college football playoff.
Yeah.
And now they don't have a coach, and they're just a laughing stock as Brian Hartline goes to South Florida. I can't imagine what they paid him to go there.
They got to go get Matt Campbell now, I think. That's what you got to do. But you're going to have to overpay, and that's the problem. And that's another thing Michigan State didn't do in this situation. If you look at Pat Fitzgerald's contract, it's very sensible relative to the contracts that are happening now. It's like a $4 million base, but really $5 million promised a year, which is like half of what the higher contracts are right now, with a lot of incentives.
But that's where it should be for
100%.
A guy that left Northwestern at an interesting spot, had a lawsuit that he took time off from. So yes, I mean that is kind of where a guy like that should be.
Probably should be like that for everybody, right? I mean the idea that because it's not like these are lofty things. Hey, he gets another $500,000 if he wins a national championship. Oh, great. Well, he's not going to see that probably, or it's going to take a while. It's like you win 6 games, it's this, 7 games, it's this, 8 games, it's this. So as you're winning more games, as you're proving yourself as a coach and proving you can resurrect the program, you're getting compensated like one of the better coaches. And I think that's
we could start the bonuses at 9 wins. I don't know if we have to start it at 6. We're getting bonuses for that. But by the way, I was watching Fitzdog on the sideline. I was sitting mid-court.
His name for you?
I'm going Fitzdog. Yeah, okay. Why not?
Yeah. I like
I know you can't do that. By the way, any media members say go white when he said go green?
I don't think so. I looked around.
That was my thing when I was watching the press conference yesterday. He's like, go green. I was like, oh, I would totally be just spinning around.
As soon as there's a pep band, I don't want to ask a question. I slump over. I'm like, I don't want to do this.
I would be constantly looking at Couch for his reaction on certain things. Yeah, I almost want to go to these just for the people watching thing.
And you don't, I mean.
But anyway, I was watching Fitzdog on the sideline and on his phone. It's like, maybe he should leave at halftime. I mean, you got to hit the ground running here. I mean, that's enough basketball to see for Fitz, right?
Did he leave at halftime? He might.
I don't know. No,
I think
he thought he stayed for the whole game.
Maybe he did. I know he left the court at halftime. Wasn't in the second.
I was pounding the bushes. I was crushing phones during that game. Shout out to Tom Izzo and Michigan State basketball for making that game a boring game. 8-0, baby.
Yeah, it's the type of boring game like I think a lot of Michigan State fans will take.
Well, you know what I mean. 20.
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
Iowa was Kirk Ferentz offense. So it's like
so you basketball coach.
You dive into your phone a little bit more and see what's going on. And I don't know. The whole thing was fascinating yesterday.
It was. And a couple other notes. You saw Alessio, Michigan State's starting quarterback, there at the presser, comes in. Right around the time that Pat Fitzgerald does, which I think is an important. Like, we don't know what he's going to become as a college quarterback entirely, but it is nice for Fitzgerald and nice for that next team not to start with 0 at quarterback or not knowing where that's going to be, right? And
he showed toughness.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing you want to start with a quarterback.
100%. And he's a suburban Chicago guy who's played against, his dad has coached against Fitzgerald's son's programs where he's been helping out. I mean, there's a lot of, but you never know what that connection is and what that relationship is. And it appears that it's a decent one. And now you focus on the line of scrimmage, and that's what you have to retain the young guys in the line of scrimmage who you think have promise, and work like hell to bring some others in, and everything else will take care of itself.
Start from the inside out, boys.
Yep.
And the football speak yesterday.
He speaks that. Yeah. He speaks that language. We'll talk more about this with Shawn Windsor in a little bit here. Want to talk some MSU basketball as well here. That was a better win than I think people realize. They got Iowa at a good time, and they've caught a couple teams at a good time. They got Kentucky at a good time, like that. And I think Izzo knows that. And I think one of the things he talked about in his post game was like they're at a place with some returning guys where they're a little further along than maybe some teams that are going to grow into the season. So they've got to keep growing because some teams are going to be a little different. But they don't play Iowa again. And so you played them once, you beat them. They were on the schedule now. You were ready for it. Iowa was 7-0. Iowa had wins over Xavier and Ole Miss was a top 50 Ken Palm team. I mean, people are familiar with that program. Michigan State just played them in the Sweet 16 last year. What was interesting that I didn't quite realize with Iowa is I knew the way they looked at. I knew, Sturtz, the point guard, is phenomenal. He's a guy that is on NBA radars, and Fears did a great job on him. And one of the things that's also clear is if you're a program that doesn't have multiple options against Michigan State's defense, you're in trouble. But they also don't have – there's a toughness, and they're just the matchup in the paint, they just didn't match up against MSU. And one thing I've written before, and I'll continue to write, and this is one of the best things about this MSU basketball team, if you do not start by matching their toughness and being able to handle their physicality, you have no chance. I mean, obviously, you can have a day, you see the way Iowa shoots the three, they shoot a ton of them, they shoot them from deep. You can have a day where everything falls, especially at home or something, and that looks different. I'm not saying that's a 10 out of 10 result, but for the most part, that result would carry every time because that matchup Michigan State had too much. And what I was impressed by MSU, though, is this was a different style than they face. Man, that was a deliberate offense, right? They wait late in the clock to do anything. So it was 9-9 at one point. It's a hard game for Cohen Carr because there just aren't fast breaks and transition the way he usually gets into a game. And yet, from like the final 3 minutes of the first half through the rest of the game, he had 15 points and he had most of his he sort of figured it out, and I think that's important for him. So I thought it was a good win, a business-like win, and an important win with Duke ahead. That you go into that game 8-0 and you get to take your swing, and now everybody's looking at you, and you sort of earn this marquee game against Duke, right? I mean,
and 88% from free throw line.
Yeah.
So Izzo's grind free throw sessions have kind of worked out. Listen, I want to love Carson Cooper. I like Carson Cooper right now. If that guy could just finish around the rim, I swear to God, that guy would be just another level of a guy that would be amazing. Match with Kohler. It's just like, Carson, dude, come on, baby.
I saw a tweet from Sam Vecini at The Athletic, who does a lot of stuff with NBA draft and things like that. And there is some buzz about Carson Cooper in terms of does he have backup center ability in the NBA because of how he defends on ball screens,
you guys know ball at a level apparently that most of us don't.
Yeah,
so
and
we'll just have to sit back and wait on
the reason I want this to happen, not just for Carson's sake.
You guys are going deep.
The reason I want this to happen is if you go back and you listen to this show like 3 years ago and he's like a freshman, my ass was talking about the idea that there was a chance that sort of thing could happen for him. And
we better dig that up.
You
deserve credit.
I looked very wrong for a couple years, and now I would love for that to be. It does not mean I was right.
It's quite the weight you made us.
You don't get to be right when there's an interlude for like 2 years where you're very much wrong. Yeah. But it would be fun if it actually.
Real ball knowers know that Couch said it 2 years ago. Holy shit, you guys.
I'm
seeing on the tea leaves.
Hey man, I'm telling you that 2018 MSU football offense is going to be the most prolific ever. So. Takes are sometimes flying. All right, let's take a really quick break, and we come back. Shawn Windsor from the Detroit Free Press. We'll talk some MSU football, Pat Fitgerald, MSU basketball, Little Lions. Couch in the Rube, our Wednesday show, presented by our friends at Front 43 Neighborhood Pub and Cask & Company Kitchen and Bar.
That's the taint.
Firekeeper's online casino and sportsbook is the site to play from your phone, tablet, or laptop. Get in on all the football action with pre- and in-game wagering. There's showdowns every week in football that you can't miss. Plus, the college and pro hoops are red hot, and the pucks are cool. Get your first casino deposit and sports wager matched up to $500 each. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 or older and located in Michigan. Gambling problem? Call the Michigan Problem Gambling Helpline at 1-800-270-7117. Where else can you cheer on your team, enjoy a mouth-watering burger or savory sushi, sip on handcrafted cocktails, or one of 46 beers on tap? Take your game day or date night to Cask & Company Kitchen Bar or Front 43 Neighborhood Pub near Frandor. 2 amazing places with one awesome blended modern American Asian menu. Catch the game on one of 30 60-inch TVs or stop in for the all-you-can-eat lunch buffet. Enjoy happy hour or elevate your night out at Cask & Company or Front 43 on East Saginaw in Lansing. Ever wonder how comfortable you can be and how good you can look? Put on a Muskox flannel and find out. Muskox has new arrivals for this fall, including the Caper Green Grand Flannel, which even makes couch look good. Muskox is a Detroit-based flannel company that creates soft and durable flannels made to last a lifetime. They become a great partner with Couch in the Rube, not just because they make us look good and feel good, but because they're good people too, and a socially conscious company. For every $100 purchase, $10 is donated to the Alaska Wildlife Conservation. Muskox flannels are designed with 100% cotton that is ethically sourced and double brushed for softness. Feel the quality and comfort of a Muskox flannel by ordering at gomuskox.com, where Couch in the Rube listeners can enjoy $15 off their flannel purchase with the promo code HOFF.
Find Couch in the Rube podcasts on Spreaker, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, Google Podcasts, CastBox, and the Rube's favorite podcast addict.
Couch in the Rube, our Wednesday afternoon show presented by our friends at Front 43 Neighborhood Pub in Cask & Company Kitchen and Bar. Great place for a date night, for a holiday gathering. I always steer people there when people ask, where should I take people when I'm in Lansing or coming from a game or whatever it might be. Front 43 in Cask & Company. Very pleased now to be joined by...
That's the taint.
the man who's famous for that saying around here now, the great Shawn Windsor from the Detroit Free Press. Shawn, how you doing, brother?
Not too bad. Always good to join you, Graham. And I love that you're giving dating advice. That's nice.
Dating advice? What do you mean?
Where to go?
I see. Yes.
Yeah. I caught that.
Well, I am. People know me for having game with the ladies. That's sort of been my thing my whole life, right? So that's
that's right. Can I hear? Is that Jason laughing in the background?
No, that's Elizabeth. He plays my wife's laugh. She came in here once. We were doing a show.
That's not how it went.
No, not how it went. What happened?
No, she had a joke. Okay. Remember, she sent you an audio joke to text, and then you texted me, and I threw it. Chopped it up.
That's right. That's right. It
was not from.
She also showed up here drunk once, and I panicked, and we ended the show immediately. She was downtown. I think at Midtown Brewing Company with a friend, and Anyway, so there's that. Once she listens to the show, the whole show ends. And the other day, she caught the very end of it, and it was like the worst possible time to do it too. So that usually is what happens. We spent a lot of time together yesterday. It was good to do. I don't get to do that often enough. And you wrote a good column on the Pat Fitgerald introductory signing or introductory press conference and the beginnings for him. Give me your sort of takeaway and how you feel about this hire after day one.
Okay, I'm going to give you my takeaway. But before I do that, I want to give you and Jason, of course, and your listeners a little bit of inside info that has to do with the blue wall. So that relates to the column that I just wrote and to what happened and how everything unfolded yesterday. So real quickly for your listeners, I centered my column at least a little bit around Pat Fitzgerald. Intuitively, maybe not intuitively, I mean, he played at Northwestern, right? He's familiar with the Big Ten, but just the way he referenced Michigan without actually saying Michigan, and he did it twice, and both times when he talked about the rivalry, he was not asked about the rivalry, so that was really smart, right? 100%. So I write the column, and I can't remember what the headline was, something about, he won the day, won the press conference, can he win on the field? And then late last night, about 11:30, midnight or so, I'm giving it one last look, as we do in this day and the age of not very many copy editors, right? So you just want to make sure, as much as you can, you don't have mistakes. And I thought, why isn't U of M in the headline also? Because he was really clever the way he did that. So I texted my editor who was on last night, and I said, "Hey, I forgot to mention this. What do you think?" And you know what he said? Without giving it all away, he said, "No. This is the green and white's day, and we're not going to put Michigan in the headline regarding a new coach at Michigan State. We don't want to appear like we're trolling, even if we're not." And then we had a conversation around that, and we kind of left the headline where it was. But I just want you and your listeners to know we actually have conversations like that. Whether a headline or not is fair in the context of the rivalry of what the news of the day, all that sort of thing. So there you go.
So the blue wall is crumbling, is what you're saying.
Welcome to the blue wall.
Yeah. I just thought that was funny.
It is good. It's good insight.
And my response was to the editor, I'm like, that's totally fair, and I understand that. But we wouldn't be doing as the free. It's Fitzgerald's the one that brought it up, right? And so I think State fans would appreciate that he knew how to talk about it and the way he talked about it. And I thought they would like that, right? So we kind of had a back and forth about that. Journalism versus, the psyche and the feelings of the audience and the readership that we have, if that makes sense.
The deep stuff behind the blue wall that goes on is fantastic. I appreciate that. All right, so give me your take on Fitzgerald.
Like you, by the way, you wrote a good column too today.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, he commands the room. He's good on his feet. He's got a self-deprecating way a little bit. He poked fun at himself once or twice. I think that's always helpful. The idea that he can work different rooms too. We saw him do 3 of them yesterday, right? The first one in the regular news conference with the band and the students, the donors, and a couple of trustees and the president and all that, all the hoopla. And then with just the media in a film room, a meeting room, football meeting room down the hall a little bit. And then later with, however many, 15,000, 16,000 fans at the Breslin. So that tells you something, right? That tells you something right there, just how easy, the ease with which he was able to handle that. And obviously the contrast with Jonathan Smith, is we've all written about, just makes you feel for Jonathan Smith even more. That's a separate topic. But I think that part of it, he's got down. And he's clearly won. And he won at a place that I would argue is harder to win than Michigan State, or at least used to be, right?
Sure.
I guess it's just some of it depends on money now. But
that is interesting, because he brings up at one point when we were chatting with him in the meeting room, we were all sort of gathered around. He just said, you look at the non-traditional powers that are winning now. He goes, there's no reason Michigan State shouldn't be one of them. Absolutely.
Yeah. And what have those non-traditional powers done? Indiana's obviously the obvious choice, and you and I talked about this when we were in Bloomington. They outspent Michigan State, Texas Tech.
Yeah.
Look at all the money they threw, right, to get their line of scrimmage. It's all about the line of scrimmage. Football's just fascinating that way, and it's our most complex game. It's our most complicated game, by our obviously American society, but in some ways it's also the simplest game. If you don't control the line of scrimmage, then you're going to have a really, really hard time winning. So that sort of black and white kind of view is, and Fitzgerald talked about that. He said the rebuild was going to start there. How many columns have you written about the offensive line in the last 7-8 years, right?
Yeah.
And lately the defensive line. That's where it starts. If he can recruit there and develop there, he'll be fine. If he can't, he won't.
Yeah. No, and I think that's where it gets interesting now, because, you win the press conference, and that's not nothing. Like, having people feel a certain way about you, number one, it buys you time. It makes people want it to work for you. It builds momentum. It's important. But ultimately, who he's able to recruit, the resources he's been promised, and how that looks. And obviously there's a massive capital campaign going on at Michigan State now, and I think a bigger donation is part of that coming up probably later this week. And like there's a lot going there, but whether you get the right staff and can run the right offense and can get the right players in, we'll see. I don't, that stuff he's going to have to still prove. I just think he starts from a better place than Jonathan Smith, not just in terms of his ability to sell himself and sell his vision for the program, but in terms of the alignment with the university that I think has learned just how important that is themselves.
no question. And let's not forget this, too. I mean, it's easy for all of us to say, because there's some empirical evidence to this, that when we're talking about how much the money matters, you can't win without money. But money doesn't guarantee that you win, right? So that's, and I think people understand that. So you think about his personality, his charisma, the clarity, the way he delivers a message. He's a charismatic educator. He comes across, I mean, which is a classic coach in a way. And that will matter not just in terms of the fan base's patience, and maybe even the donor base's patience, maybe even the administration's patience. It matters in recruiting, both in high school and the portal, because at some point, you know, if the money's there, then how much different are we talking about if player A has 2 or 3 schools and the money's all similar? Well, what's going to make the difference? Okay, weather, family, maybe tradition, but it still comes down to the coach and what he sounds like in the living room, over the phone, over Zoom, whatever, right? So that still matters. That still matters.
Yeah, and I think how you allocate those rev share funds. I mean, he talked about in that podcast that we've all referenced now with ESPN, just how, you know, everybody starts at 0 with the rev share, and then it's what you do beyond that separates you in your player development and all that stuff. But I also think one of the things that's going to be really important in the years to come, it's sort of like baseball teams with smaller payrolls that do it really well, is the decisions and hard discussions you have within your rev share, where you put your money and where you put your priorities. Like, I've always thought Michigan State should be a place with a dominant offensive line. It's a place that could recruit to that. That could be their identity. They could even, you know, create some sort of NIL world that revolved around that. Like, I've always thought that's the miss there, and that should be a place where that's just never in question. The offensive line will want to go there. They want to be part of something. It can be named. It can be branded, whatever it is. And but I'll be very curious to see. He's talked a lot about his sabbatical away in these couple years since he was fired at Northwestern, and then, you know, he, as he said, vindicated this last summer by the findings of that investigation and the settlement. But he's talked about looking under the hood at other programs. What does that look like? How does, you know, what is Pat Fitzgerald 2.0, hungry, having coached 17 years of the Big Ten, now in a new world? What does that look like? You know, and I don't think we know.
No, we don't. And one thing he said on the podcast, that really, the Game Day podcast that interested me the most, that I thought was the most revealing, was he was talking about the money and the NIL and so forth. But he got sort of granular at one point, talking about, okay, there are a couple of things. One, when you go into the portal, or maybe into high school, and you are talking about the initial amount of money, what we're going to pay you, and being able to explain to that player what their value is and why that money figure is attached to that value, depending on their position, maybe their recruiting status coming out of high school. But it's a little bit easier in the portal, because you can say, this is what you've done, this is what you think we can do. But then he also said he would have to have those conversations with players that are at Michigan State already, who start to improve and develop and get better, and then they want more money.
Yeah.
And then trying to figure out those. So it's almost it's a lot like what how the NFL operates, right? You draft somebody, they get better, they're worth a second contract. Okay, well, how much is that second contract worth? That depends on, you know, obviously the market a little bit, but what position they play, how they fit into the team. You know, they put a ton of money in the quarterback, or most put it in the quarterback, but, you know, defensive, do they have a defensive end that's really expensive? Whatever. He talked about that, about laying all that out and getting the players to understand where their value is and how much that's worth in the larger context of that team, and then maybe how they can even improve it from there. And I thought that was really smart.
Yeah, no, and how that's where the relationships matter, the tough conversations. You think about recruiting, and it used to be just how much smoke you could blow up somebody to make them want to be part of you. And I get the coaches would say the more honest you were with them, the better, and all that. And I'm not saying coaches aren't sometimes honest, and that helps in recruiting too. But now you have to have tough conversations earlier, right? You have to put a cap on somebody's worth, so to speak, when they may think that their value is limitless. So, I find that stuff maneuvering very interesting. Yeah, we'll see what happens. It was a heck of a day one for him, but I don't think we anticipated any less. I think the Breslin Center was the cap of that, where he stole the room again. Izzo even referenced it afterwards that he couldn't, hear in the timeout. He couldn't hear talking to his players because Fitzgerald's yelling on the go green, go white, and trying to rile up the crowd at one of the timeouts. Let's talk some basketball here. Michigan State 8-0, a very different team in terms of understanding their identity and bullying people than what I saw against UConn on the road in the exhibition season. Like, they've come a long way, and I think that's a great value of those exhibition games. I also think UConn is one of the top few teams in the country. They're going to see that again against Duke, and we'll get a sort of a bookend measuring sticks of how far they've come and where they are in that sense. But what about this team impresses you most?
Probably what impresses you and everybody else, I like the physicality a lot. I like the rebounding. I like the defense on the front line, especially with Cooper and even Kohler in his own way, and even Carr. I mean, the way they compete, I like all of that. But to me, and I was thinking about this yesterday a little bit with Jeremy Fears, as you know, Tom Izzo's mentioned Mateen Cleaves. Since you've covered him, since I've covered him, since Mateen Cleaves has been there, right? Oh, this guy's maybe he's like Cleaves, right? He references certain players and has over the years. It's got a little bit of Cleaves. Fears, to me, is the closest to Cleaves he's had since Cleaves. And body type, he might be a little shorter, but just in the way he plays and body type, he can make some shots, but he's not a shooter. The all-out effort on both ends, right? Just the engagement. I mean, obviously he's a world-class trash talker, but just the way he commands space on the court, it reminds you of that a little bit. And look, I don't know how much longer. I assume you don't either. How much longer Izzo's going to do this? But could you see a world where maybe he goes beyond Fierce? Let's just say Fierce stays 2 more years after this, and maybe Tom goes past that. That's fine. But there's some nice poetry to having these two guards maybe bookend his career in a way, right? And I don't know. Maybe this leads to one more run or one more title. Who knows? But to me, that's the most impressive thing to me, is that the synergy he's got with Fears and the way Fears is starting to develop. And frankly, he's going to keep getting better. And I'm talking about next year, but this year, right? I mean, where's he going to be in February?
No, it's a good question. I do think a better bookend is Mateen Cleaves Jr., who's more of a shooting guard, but finishing. He's a 2028 prospect. So there's that down the road. But there have been other opportunities for poetry, and Izzo has chosen to stay. I don't know that he has anything to do. So I think he's going to. I don't mean that like he has to keep coaching, but I think this is what he loves. But you're right. I do think that there is a presence to him. There's a confidence that comes with him. There is that Mateen had. The trash talk is part of that. Just the ability to get in people's heads, to frustrate people, to lead, and make everybody else feel like they're going to be okay in this game on the court. Now they've got a lot of other veterans who are doing that. And I look at a guy like Jackson Kohler, who last night was really good, and he keeps setting the tone. 5 rebounds very quickly. He had 12 points, 11 rebounds. He still doesn't score as much in the post as I think he could. And I've been surprised that hasn't happened. But, a lot of skill, but just a ferocious rebounder. And I don't think they knew they were getting that when they recruited him. That wasn't why they recruited him. They didn't look at him in high school and go, there's the next Xavier Tillman, right? That wasn't his pedigree. And I think that's his development in that and sort of what he gives them. And then Cooper's, from being a project to a guy who's a fairly elite ball screen defender and turned into a plus offensive player, with Carr and just sort of the hunger those four have and the understanding of their games that they all have. Like, nobody does anything they're not capable of doing. That's really impressed me with Cohen Carr, because Jay Akins went through this a year ago where it was like his turn, and you want to be like this all-NBA guy, and you want to be the next star, and you want to take over for Tyson Walker. And and your game isn't quite at that level. And then Jace Richardson obviously became the guy who sort of supplanted him and all that. But I've been impressed that, and I think that did get in his head very, very early, but it hasn't gotten in Cohen Carr's head. He sort of let the game come to him and be who he is.
No, for sure. And you're right. All four of them are like that. And the young guys are like that, too. They're young guys, and they're trying to find their way. But you know, a couple of things on Kohler and Cooper. One on Kohler, you're right. They probably hoped he'd be a rebounder, but they thought he was going to be like a baby Jokic.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, they saw him as, I remember when they were recruiting him and talking to some of the coaches, they saw him as a player they thought could be a fabulous offensive-oriented guy, right? And the feet are still there, the hands are still there. I'm not sure what's happened to the touch. Even just last night, the way he's missing right now, he's almost better out from the 3-point line, which is crazy to say. I think that'll settle in as the year goes. But no question, they saw him as an offensive player. As far as Cooper, I'll tell you a quick story. My son Sam, who was up at Michigan State when Cooper, I think, first got there, and he was at a practice one day, and he was sitting next to the great Doug Herner, and Doug Herner looks and says and points to Cooper on the court and says, "That guy is going to be a really, really good player before he leaves." And Sam said, "Who? Well, who are you pointing at?" Because at that point, Cooper could barely get one foot in front of the other. Do you remember what he was like when?
Well, yeah, except he had moments where we were talking about this earlier. The idea that I overhyped him early. He had some moments like if you go back to the Illinois game as a freshman where he gets thrown in and he's just rim running, and people didn't know who he was. There were signs of it, but I absolutely know what you mean because there were a lot of signs of it not being there early on as well.
No, he always had. I mean, obviously the size was there. He's bulked up since then, and he had some sneaky. God, that's such a pejorative. Let's just say it. He had some athleticism.
Yeah.
He had a little bit of explosiveness, and that was there from the start. But just the way he had to grow into his body, his hands weren't nearly as soft. I'm not saying they're like Kohler's now, but they're much softer than they used to be. And the footwork wasn't there. Just the way he carried himself, his competitive spirit was probably always there. But the way he's owned it, that may be the most impressive thing to me about him right now, Graham, is just the way he takes up space in the court. He knows he's good.
Yeah,
he plays like he knows he's good, and you know it's hard to find that in a box score.
Doug Herner, by the way, would be much more of a household name other than being my freshman year gym coach at Lansing Sexton High School, or gym teacher. He used to take our money by he'd bet that we could beat him in a free throw contest, and he was always 10 for 10. I mean, he was a All-American at Michigan back in the day. He's been Izzo's right-hand man for a long time. But he should have been Magic Johnson's high school coach. If not for forced integrated busing that sent Magic south to Everett High School, he would have been at Sexton when Herner was – can you imagine being Doug Herner coaching Sexton while Everett had Magic and Eastern had Jay Vincent? What the hell is that? I mean, that was – anyway, still bitter. I wasn't really paying attention back then or born, but still bitter to this day.
But real quickly, the reason I bring that up is it just speaks to, and we've talked about this for decades now, but it just speaks to, and I think it's interesting and important to note that even in this day and age, development still matters.
Yeah.
The guys, you can get guys to stick around. I mean, he's obviously Michigan State's got some promising young players, and that matters too. And they're going to have to figure that out at the two guard. It's a mix of obviously transfers and young guys, but and sort of middle guys, not mid guys, but middle guys. But yeah, no, that's how you take a step back, Graham. That he's doing it the way he's always done it, with a little bit of adjustment with the portal, right? I mean, that's kind of remarkable.
Yeah, no, it's. I think if these guys, I think we said it before the year, if these guys all came out of the portal like they have at some schools, there would be, this group would have been lauded from the get-go. But it's worked out, and I think they're starting to get that praise now. You're starting to see nationally people realize just how good they are. A team not so good, wanted to touch on with you real quick before we go, the Detroit Lions, who have, Is
that really where we are?
This is a what? Is this a must? If they lose this game, are they making the playoffs? I think the schedule still gives them an opportunity, but you probably have to win 11 to get in. And so,
yep.
And so, if this game against a Cowboys team that's going in the opposite direction, that they've got to win this, right?
Yeah, I mean, are they going to go beat the Rams in L.A. the following Sunday? I mean, a week from Sunday, rather, I should say. I don't know. I mean, mathematically, they don't have to win it, but yeah. I mean, then they lose 2 in a row for the first time in, 2.5 years, 3 years, whatever it is. It's amazing how quickly this has all turned.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for the Lions. But this is the NFL, though, right? This is the nature of the NFL. I mean, teams are really good, and then they have a tough year, and then the good franchises bounce back. So, but, they're not going to have Amon-Ra, right? Laporte is already out. Graham Glasgow, I don't know if he's going to be back. Ragnall's, that was short-lived. And then, Kirby Joseph is probably not going to play. I mean, and you're right, Dallas they're on a roll right now. They have the best offense in the league. That's a scary thought, right? They're probably going to have to outscore them unless they turn them over, which they have not been doing that either. So, I don't know. I'm with you. It's kind of a must-win.
What's the lesson? What's the lesson from this year? Like, I mean, obviously there are injuries, but there have been injuries every year, and so there will be injuries next year. So, what's the lesson from this year?
I mean, I guess you could say to be more aggressive at the trade deadline and going to get a defensive end. I don't know. Maybe if Jalen Phillips is on the line instead of the Eagles, they beat Philly and they're not in this. I mean, you could argue that maybe, but in terms of it was a tricky. The timing of Frank Ragnow really hurt, right? I mean, the lesson is, and they know this. I don't know if it's a lesson for them, but the offensive line is the key to the rebuild. Was the key to the rebuild? They've said that since they started the rebuild. And that offensive line play has slipped off, and that more than any other thing is responsible for why they are where they are. They don't run the ball in the same way because of that line. Therefore, the play action pass isn't the same. Jared Goff doesn't have the same time, and they're still scoring fine because they have such great skill players. But it's that they don't need a dominant defense. They had the kind of offense where you needed like a top 12, top 15 maybe. I've done the research on this before. But top 10, top 12, somewhere in there. That's the kind of defense you need when you have the offense they have had the last couple of years. But it all starts with that offensive line. So that's the lesson.
Well, Shawn will be at the Lions game Thursday night. You'll be at the Duke-Michigan State game Saturday, so you can read his coverage of both those events, and I urge you to read his coverage today at freep.com. It's good to see you, man, and look forward to seeing you Saturday.
Absolutely. Enjoy. Don't you have some kind of party coming up? Some kind of Christmas movie?
I have a Hallmark Christmas party Thursday night during the Lions game. I got to figure out how to. I think this happened last year. They put out Thursday night, and So I will figure out how to maneuver that. I'm not hosting it. I didn't pick the date. It's a neighbor, but I partake. So yes. Absolutely.
No, and you should. And a man does not apologize for going to watch Hallmark movies instead of the Lions game. You own it, and you say that's just how it is.
That's right. That's just how it is. That's absolutely right. Love you, man. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, take care, bud. Yep.
That's Shawn Windsor from the Detroit Free Press.
What kind of advice is that, Windsor? Talking about? Yeah, no ridicule from that. You can just tell him you can't go, right? I got to watch the Lions game.
So here's why it works. Because the person who hosts it, the woman who hosts it, her husband is Matt Wenzel, who's a Michigan State writer, covers Michigan State for MLive.
Yeah.
And so he does not care. He does not play the Hallmark bingo with us. He is in the other room with the Lions game on.
I'm a big fan of Matt.
Which is a big help for me because I am able to sort of back and forth and go sit and watch the game with him and come back and make sure I'm not missing any of the movie. Yeah.
I could never,
Yeah.
You would not want me any part of that.
No, it would not go well.
Yeah.
It would, no, I'm able to do it. So any takeaways from that
Well,
conversation?
Speaking of the Lions, you guys were talking about the Lions at the end there, and Michigan fan Jordan sent me this tweet from Al Karsten, who's at footballguy_AL. Defensive highest time to throw allowed since 2020. The Lions are in the top 10, the top 8 3 times.
Okay.
The 2023 Lions, who allowed 2.75 seconds for a quarterback to throw. The 2024 Lions, 2.83 seconds. And number 1, this year's Lions team with 2.87 seconds.
So Goff's having time. That's not
this is defensively.
Oh,
this
defensively.
is what the defense is
Gotcha.
allowing the opposing quarterback. I'm sorry, I should have let you know that. But yeah, so it's just it's just curious does Brad Holmes see a tweet like this? Does anyone show him this? And I would love to hear his response and then would he just wax poetic about how when Marcus Davenport comes back healthy and how great the other side of the defensive line will be and all this blah, blah. I just don't get it. And it is a must win tomorrow. I just don't see a path to where the Lions can make the playoffs. I'm not dead inside.
So obviously there's the draft where you have a first-round pick, and I think they just have one this year. I don't think they got anything else. But you have the draft where you have a couple early-round picks to fix things. There will be some cap space, hopefully, in free agency. They can do it because I know they're.
But it doesn't matter if you don't do anything in free agency.
Correct.
Right?
So the question is, would you even, are there trades you consider? Like if there was something that they have that's a strength that you would be willing to have be a little less of a strength to improve them either on the edge as a rushing or on the offensive line, what would that be?
I mean, I need names to who to move, right? I mean, what do you mean? I don't know if we have anyone to move per se, but I'm talking about adding smaller pieces to bring in more depth. I think, honestly, our starting core is perfect. I like our starting core. It's the problem is when these guys, like there's no way you're going to make it through a full football season, and especially in the NFL with no injuries or very little injuries. Right. So I just want more. I'm not asking for a big power broker move per se. But, the Jalen Phillips-ish kind of moves, those little things that can build up the depth into your, in your lineup here. That's just like, what are we doing? I just can't sit back and St. Brown, and I got to see fucking Tim or Tom, I can never remember his name, Kennedy, at wide receiver, right? And the Lions are -3 this week. I could not tell anybody with a straight face to take the Lions giving points, even at home, because I don't know if Amon-Ra St. Brown's going to play or who, Penei Sewell got hurt at practice the other day. It's like I just can't, it's like with Michigan State. I'm sitting there going like, my whole sports world now is just basically praying that there's no injuries. I'm watching the Michigan State-Iowa game. I'm like, man, get Kohler out of there. It sucks, you know? It's like that's the Lions season. I don't want it to happen for Michigan State because I love the depth that they have. And, look at the depth that Michigan State has and how fun it is to watch that basketball team play. I know it's obvious, different sports, but I want that for the Lions where I know the next man up shit. That mentality is great. I understand that, but you need help in free agency and picking up guys when injuries happen. And it doesn't seem like Brad Holmes wants to start to do that.
No.
And you look back at the draft classes and you go, we could have given up those picks to get these certain players, and I would have rather had those players instead of the draft picks, obviously, in hindsight. And I know it's early on Tesla, but you use those third rounders to trade up to get a guy that I don't know if anybody was even looking for, right? Other teams in that draft. Were they looking for Tesla? So,
speaking of,
use those picks. I mean, Scott Harris and Brad Holmes. I'm sick of these like picks and all this stuff. Let's make a move.
Speaking of Kohler, I mean, he seems like a pretty durable bloke. Like the way he slipped on the sidelines yesterday. And he just gets. I mean, he's built himself that way. But if he were to get hurt, and this is not anything.
Did you say that to him?
No, I've not said this.
He looked like a durable bloke. But I just want to see his face, like what he would say.
This is the messed up stuff I think about. Because I always think they should have redshirted Jackson Kohler the year that he missed the first 10 and 11, 12 games, whatever it was, with the foot injury. And so he has a redshirt year available. It could be a medical, but he'd have to get injured in the next 2 or 3 games. So if it were to happen, not that you want that. I'm sorry. We'd fix that in post.
Yeah,
this is
really.
the worst.
I might actually have to do that.
Yeah, this is the worst thing I've ever done.
This is one of the worst.
Apologize. I just am frustrated that he can't be on next year's team for them because I think he should be available to come back.
So you're rooting for his injury?
No, not at all. I think this should be a great
year. All-timer couch.
That's one of the worst. We're not. We'll just
delete the show.
Yeah, no.
Sorry, guys.
Be all done. But let's. When we come back, you brought up the Lions game. Lions -3. It's a great week in the NFL with a bunch of games that mean a whole lot. And obviously the college football conference championship games. Let's take a break. When we come back, we'll just go through some of the stuff, anything that we sort of like this weekend, bets we may take, games we're intrigued by, and what's going to be a pretty sweet weekend of football. Couch in the Rube, our Wednesday show, presented by our friends at Front 43 Neighborhood Pub and Cask and Company Kitchen and Bar.
Where else can you cheer on your team, enjoy a mouth-watering burger or savory sushi, sip on handcrafted cocktails, or one of 46 beers on tap? Take your game day or date night to Cask and Company Kitchen Bar or Front 43 Neighborhood Pub near Frandor. 2 amazing places with 1 awesome blended modern American-Asian menu. Catch the game on one of 30 60-inch TVs or stop in for the all-you-can-eat lunch buffet. Enjoy happy hour or elevate your night out at Cask and Company or Front 43 on East Saginaw in Lansing. Ever wonder how comfortable you can be and how good you can look? Put on a Muskox flannel and find out. Muskox has new arrivals for this fall, including the Caper Green Grand Flannel, which even makes couch look good. Muskox is a Detroit-based flannel company that creates soft and durable flannels made to last a lifetime. They become a great partner with Couch in the Rube, not just because they make us look good and feel good, but because they're good people too, and a socially conscious company. For every $100 purchase, $10 is donated to the Alaska Wildlife Conservation. Muskox flannels are designed with 100% cotton that is ethically sourced and double brushed for softness. Feel the quality and comfort of a Muskox flannel by ordering at gomuskox.com, where Couch in the Rube listeners can enjoy $15 off their flannel purchase with the promo code HOFF. Come enjoy irresistible, award-winning, handcrafted donuts and locally roasted coffee at Groovy Donuts. Surprise your family or coworkers with special holiday designs and flavors, or put the perfect finishing touch on an event with a custom order. Birthdays, weddings, gender reveals, our friends at Groovy Donuts are your answer. Experience the Groovy Donuts difference for yourself on Lake Lansing Road in East Lansing or in Williamston. Get more information or place an order at groovydonuts.com.
Find Couch in the Rube podcasts on Spreaker, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, Google Podcasts, CastBox, and the Rube's favorite podcast addict.
Pound the bushes.
Couch in the Rube, our Wednesday afternoon show presented by our friends at Front 43 Neighborhood Pub and Cask and Company Kitchen and Bar. Outstanding place for a date night, cozy holiday drink. Whether you want sushi, flatbread, burgers, they've got a great menu, modern American Asian menu, and fantastic drink selection. Just near the East Lansing border, Front 43 and Cask and Company. You can make a reservation at caskandcompany.com. Jason.
By the way, you tell Windsor you love him a lot, like all the time on the phone, or because you let it slip.
I did slip, didn't it? Yeah.
You guys do that?
It's deeper than our 69.
No, I mean it's okay.
Yeah,
it's okay. You know.
Yeah.
You do that?
I don't know. I don't know if I've ever.
You and Solari don't do that though. I know that.
I don't know that we have. No, but I don't know if I've ever said that before.
Windsor's a lovable guy. I can see that. You know, he's very nice. I'm sure he's got the good food recommendations. Member of the Blue Wall. I just figured, I heard you. I love you so much.
I didn't say so much.
Oh, sorry.
You're definitely adding. You're definitely adding. Then it gets weird.
I miss your smell.
Yeah, that would get weird. Yeah. I love your scent.
Although he did get a little, like when he heard Elizabeth's laugh, like he thought that was me. He was like, "Is that Jason?" Sorry, you guys sound the same. Anyway, I was like, "Damn, dude, does he want like some smoke with me or something?" I was like, "I love you, Windsor. I love you for real." Anyway,
I love that he wears like a zippy hoodie sweatshirt. Like other people are. Some of the reporters, young guys especially, dressed up in like ties and shirts yesterday, like it's their event, And,
like the kid that asked the question, and he was like, "We're from the State News student thing,
the journalism
thing."
Yeah, I love it.
Like, hell yeah, that's how you ask, dude. I could not imagine being a student, being a young person, 46 in front of all those people.
Yeah,
I'd be shitting my pants. So I'm not making fun of it, but it's just made me laugh that he said it.
It was well done. Yeah, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right, so
I wish we could have one of those like once a month, man.
Well, just a pep rally press conference.
Pep rally presser. Just throw Izzo up there, fucking Gus. Let's do it. Anyway.
It was funny when Guskowitz got asked a very specific question about something with the coaching search. He was basically like, "This is why I hired Jay Batt." That was his answer. I was like,
well,
yeah, there you go.
Hey, honesty. Yeah, it works.
All right, so this weekend, great weekend, beginning with Lions-Cowboys. You referenced the Lions -3. This is I don't know if I've ever seen a better stay away in my life in a football game than this Lions-Cowboys game, because I don't trust the Cowboys, frankly, either. The Lions at home can have a day where they just look like a wagon. They just haven't been lately. So -3 seems absurd. You can see the Cowboys winning this. I can't see the Lions stopping the Cowboys, but I've seen the Lions often struggle a little of late, so the over-under even scares me a little bit. I don't know that I've ever seen a game that I'm more of a stay away than this game.
But tell me why. I mean, honestly, it's a stay away because you don't want to bet Dallas, but I would tell people,
right.
I mean, I'm not going to do it, but I would take Dallas +3.
Yeah.
Just before the break, I read to you the defensive, the Lions defense allowing opposing quarterbacks almost 3 seconds of time. And Dak Prescott with George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb and Ferguson. I mean, fuck, where anal zone is going to cover Ferguson. I mean, dude, I want, listen, make me eat crow. I'm ready to eat it. But if you're telling me right now, give me the Dallas and the points.
I think if I were looking to have a wager on this game, and I'm not. But if I were and I wanted to not obviously bet against the Lions, I think I would put it in a teaser and tease down the over-under so that I could get because I do think it's going to hit over 47.5 or whatever. I think there's going to be, these are two teams without great defenses. And so I do think a 54.5 probably happens too. I just, the Lions offense has struggled a little lately. On over 47.5, I'd feel a lot better about, and I'd probably.
And the touchdowns are all juiced, so you can even bet on those. It's just the prop market is, I don't know. That's why when you brought it up, I'm sitting there going
there are
some of these bets. It's not even fun anymore.
But here are there are so many games this weekend that are interesting, that are consequential, like Pittsburgh, Baltimore, and I don't think either of those is a great team, but they're both 6-6, playing for the division. That's a fun game, right? No,
I'd rather watch a replay of the Red Box Bowl.
Okay,
I mean, talking about two teams. I mean, are they going to really do anything in the playoffs right now?
But I'd rather watch that than Colts, Jaguars, who are both 8-4. I guess is what I'm saying. Yeah, for whatever reason. It's Bills, Bengals. The Bengals are somehow not out of this, and they look really good now that Burrow's back. That's an interesting game. 8-4 Bills, 4-8 Bengals. Bears, Packers, 9-3 and 8-3-1. Obviously, very interesting game.
Root for a tie.
And then the Sunday night game, Texans, Chiefs. The Chiefs got to win, and they're playing one of the best defenses.
But Houston's D is so good.
Yeah,
it's so going to be I can see that thing 6-3 in the fucking third quarter.
I like the under 42 on that one because Houston's offense has its own struggles. And then the Eagles, Chargers isn't bad on Monday night either. But it's one of the best NFL slates, period. And I think if the Lions win, it's how it is where it's hard to enjoy the overall slate if your own team is in the shitter.
Tell me about it.
Yeah. So if the Lions could find a way to beat the Cowboys, then you get to enjoy this whole football weekend. And the Lions' problems still all will exist, but at least they'll be 8-5. At least the path to the playoffs will still look pretty clear and understandable how they have to get there. The beating the Rams won't be a complete must, all that sort of stuff. And so you get to enjoy the weekend. Is there a game, within these where you look at the line, I kind of, and you say, this is where I'm in. I'm all in on this particular line.
In the NFL?
Yeah.
I'd have to be a crazy person. I'd have to be one of those gambling expert guys that sounds like they're gargling with freaking gravel or something. You get unbelievable. In the NFL, you have no effing idea on some of these things. I can't look at any of these games and go, absolutely, that'll, you have to go more in the NFL, you go by storylines and narratives and shit like that over I do any kind of insight or guys that know ball or crushing tape or anything like that. The NFL is an absolute crapshoot.
Let me give you
That's why it sucks to gamble on sometimes.
Let me give you some teasers that I like, though. So I like if you can knock these down 7 points. I like the Lions, Cowboys.
Is this going to be a minus 180?
Over on, no, this is minus 7. So 2-team teasers minus 130. You add a third team, it gets pretty even or plus money.
Okay.
I obviously like the Cowboys, Lions. If you take it down to 47.5, going over there. If you basically take the Seahawks in a teaser down to -1 or even money, 6 or 7 points at the Falcons against Kirk Cousins. That version of Kirk Cousins and that Seahawks, I get it's a team going east, and we just saw what happened with the Rams going to Carolina, like that.
But I could also see Kirk Cousins leading them to a victory, him yelling, "You like that?" One last time.
Also,
before
like
he retires.
Bengals in a teaser. I think the Bengals are legitimately competitive, and Burrow has a swagger. And if you bring that up to 11.5, 12.5 at Buffalo, I think that's a really good. I think there are a number of teaser. The Bears up to 13.5. Love that at Green Bay. I think there are a number of games that'll be competitive and close. And if you can, either bring it down to, there's some teasers where I feel pretty good this week in NFL action.
I got to say though, I'm more about the college slate with the conference championship games. I know we're forgetting about those a little bit, but I want to see Indiana, Ohio State,
Same.
Right?
Yeah.
Indiana getting 4 and a hook. Is that neutral or is that at Ohio State?
No,
right?
this is a big
neutral. Sorry,
it's
the Big Ten championship.
It's Indianapolis. Yeah.
Indianapolis. We're still doing that. Listen, I don't know. Lane Kiffin, everybody's flipping things on a tit. I forget where it's at now.
Yeah.
So Indianapolis, I still want to see where Indiana stacks up right there. 4 and a hook. It seems like a public number to where they're trying to sucker you into taking Indiana and Ohio State on a neutral field rolls, but I think I would take Indiana 4 and a hook on that.
It's one of the more fascinating ones for this reason. I think that we talk about these championship games. Eventually, I think will go away. The meaning of them is less. You got to play this extra game before the playoff, and if you lose it and you don't get a bye, how that's no good.
It's a shame, but it kind of has to happen, right, where they get rid of these.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. But for this one, it's there are ones where you go, this is one of the last great ones. Because Indiana, winning a Big Ten championship, especially the Big Ten now, but winning a Big Ten championship for Indiana football would mean something. I mean, and it would mean more than it would for Ohio State. And yet Ohio State, which finally beat Michigan, has that relief and that exhale, is the defending national champions, probably wants to, like, Indiana's gotten a lot of hype for a long time, wants to stay at the top of the mountain. Like, I think this is my favorite game in a long time. And I am probably going to put a little on Indiana just because I want them to win. So
you're pro Cignetti now?
Well, I'm pro the
only
underdog.
When he wins you money.
I'm pro the little guy. I'm pro the Indiana story. I'm not pro.
Which side are you on? You're flip flopping on Cignetti.
Well,
you don't like his scheduling.
I don't
but now
like
you're
the
for a
scheduling.
little guy.
Those,
if you're a little guy, you have to schedule. I mean, you got to put the schedule in your favor.
His scheduling is shameful, and I'm annoyed that other teams want to do this now. Like, to me, if it's going to be Michigan State versus Youngstown State 3 straight weeks to open the year every year, that's cool. I'm just going to take my vacations into Marquette until mid-September.
Yeah,
we'll come back. We'll start the season, and Michigan State and every other place should have like ticket packages for the actual season beginning when the Big Ten plays, because nobody wants. I mean, think about the Youngstown State game. Yeah, you like being the opener. It works because it's the opener and everybody's excited. You think about week 3, and this is what Indiana did this year. Indiana played nobody. They disrespected their fans. Their fans are thrilled right now because the program's in an unbelievable place, but it's a shitty way to do college football. The flip side of that, the argument is his program is healthy, and you play one last game where you get beat up at that level. His program tends to be healthy. I think some of that's the way they practice. But there is an argument for it. I just think it sucks. I think everybody should be playing 10.
Well, how do you fix it, though?
It's easy.
I mean,
You just make it's pretty
strength of schedule, make it a priority.
Just make it mandated that if you're a Power 4 team that's going to benefit from the strength of schedule of that, you have to play a minimum of 10 Power 4 conference opponents. And if you do that, because you can't control, like, you can schedule a team 5 years out and think, hey, we just scheduled a good game, and that team winds up being shitty. That's not your fault. It's not Michigan State's fault that Boston College, who I thought was going to be pretty decent, went on to have this horrendous year. That intent in scheduling should matter. I don't mind that something goes wrong, but there is you still should have to try to play those games, right? I think the intent of it should be there. And you don't have to play behemoths. I mean, Indiana doesn't have to play Alabama. Just don't beg out of the Virginia game. And I get the Virginia.
And speaking of Alabama, Alabama playing Georgia, and Alabama with 2 losses. If they lose to Georgia, obviously that's going to be the big controversy if a 3-loss team gets into the 12-team playoff.
Well,
it's a colossal mess.
And that's the other thing is, if these games shouldn't hurt you, right? These games can't exist if they hurt you. Like, if people who want the Big Ten or these conference championship games to go away, like I do, after this year, you want Georgia to win, and you want Alabama to get left out, because that will be the end. The SEC, that will be the end of it. The SEC will be like, all right, we're not having a championship game, because if Alabama would be in today, plays an extra game than everybody else, and then is out, the SEC is like, we're done. Good luck with that. And obviously there's TV money rights.
The
and all
conference
that stuff.
championship games will be gone by January 1st.
Yeah. And that, if it means an extra few teams in the playoff to make the TV stuff right, so be it. If you like that, if they're going to go to 16 in the playoff, I can deal with that if the conference championship games are gone, because you're not necessarily adding an extra round. You're getting rid of buys, and if you could play a couple more on campus sites, I think the bigger thing is the calendar needs to move up to where the last week in August is week 1, and last weekend, the week before Thanksgiving, is the end of the regular season. I would love to start the playoffs like now, Thanksgiving weekend, and then you're done by January 1. I think that's the way you fix the calendar, and you maybe could have a week off in there if you didn't have a week between the championship game and whatever. But there are ways to look at it. I just think if you don't like these championship games, Alabama getting left out would be something. I don't have another side here I really, really love. I'd probably put a little something on Western Miami, Ohio, just to have fun with it in the MAC championship game. Except I'm scarred from 2009, Graham, or whatever year it was, 2011, when Miami, Ohio beat Northern Illinois, and I dropped $2,000, and have not gotten over that. It's sort of like
spite bet for Western. It's
well,
the best of both worlds.
I won't be able to see the game though. Michigan State's playing Duke basketball at the same time, so I'm not going to get to watch the game anyway. So I don't think I'll if I was watching the game, I would do something.
Yeah, it's tough to bet on these games and not watch them. You can have your phone on the side,
I do that sometimes. Yeah. We will do What We're Betting, of course, presented by Firekeepers this Friday during our Groovy Donut Twitter questions. We appreciate all of you listening, as always, and producing our shows on Mondays and Fridays. We'll count on you again this Friday. We appreciate Shawn Windsor. And, of course, Front 43 Neighborhood Pub and Cask & Company Kitchen Bar. Go to caskandcompany.com. Make a reservation today, especially on the weekends when they get busy. You just type in what you want. You want a booth, which side you want to be on. They'll take care of you. They're fantastic. They're Front 43 and Cask & Company. Good show, man.
Yeah, man.
We'll talk to you Friday. Catch you on the roof.